can turn the world on with a smile. You can take a nothing day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile. Well, it's your blood and you should know it. With each glance and every little movement you show it. Love is all around, no need to fake it. You can never down, why don't you take it? You're gonna make it after all.
Oh my goodness. I'm indoors again for the third day in a row. Still doesn't beat my depressive record of the past 3 years, going on 4 years, where I stayed indoors for 6 days in a row. I don't even think I checked my mail during that time. I know I didn't shower during that time. And you know, your scalp starts to hurt when your hair is dirty. But it's really windy outside, and wind is the enemy of the asthmatic. So I'm going to say also right now that I'm going to apologize for all the pauses, any snifflings, any coughs that come out before I have the chance to hit the pause button, because that's where I am right now with my lungs. Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Rose. How's it going? It's been a while. Mainly because of the affirmation. Oh, let's have some affirmations now that Al Franken has resigned. Let's do a little Stephen Smalley, Stuart Smalley, whatever. Affirmations. But yeah, it's been a while, and god damn it, I'm gonna have to pause again because I feel a little burp, trying to gather wind and air, a nice little pocket of air in the back of my throat. We all know that Sanchez does not approve of burps. Oh my God, it was a burp and a cough. Anyway, you know what else is the enemy of the asthmatic? Pot. Marijuana. That's right. And it's something that I have partaken in off and on, mainly on, for the good part of the past 25 years. And I don't want fucking COPD. I don't want to be one of those old people in the commercials where some young person is saying, can we do this tomorrow? And they're like, there might not be a tomorrow because I've got COPD. And you know, y'all probably remember, maybe not, but last year when I had to call an ambulance for myself, that's no good because my asthma was so fucking bad. Did that teach me a lesson? No. I mean, it taught me some lessons. Don't go to urgent care next time it gets as bad as it had gotten the day before I went to the emergency room. Go straight to the fucking emergency room and make them check you in. That was the lesson I learned then. But yeah, pot is something that I have wanted to quit for a while. I really relied on it when I was still married because it was a way to get through the fucking day. I'll be honest. It would have been so much. Life was horrible then. I know I haven't. I mean, I've talked a little bit about it, but anyway, it would have been fucking so much worse. And the times when I did stop smoking pot in order to be able to pee clearly for any potential job tests, I would drink. I would drink vodka mixed in with whatever, which is horrible because it's a fucking depressive. And I'm not a drinker. I've mentioned this before. I was a drinker when I was taking the medication Neurontin, but weirdly enough, when I stopped taking Neurontin, I stopped having any interest in drinking anything. I've maybe had 1 or 2 beers when I've been out socially, maybe. But that's it. Because alcohol fucks the hell out of my sinuses on top of it being a depressive kind of substance. But we're not talking about booze. We're talking about weed. And the beautiful thing about weed is that it doesn't have physically addictive properties like tobacco does, and like alcohol does, and like other much harder substances do. It's a psychological addiction, if it's even that for some people. It's a psychological emotional dependency, kind of like what one could have with food, except food is a necessity, and for me, marijuana is not. Um, so it's and I didn't smoke at all when I was in Paris for 2 weeks, and it was wonderful. I could tell so much how it improved my stamina, my lung functioning, my sleeping, um, all of that kind of thing. Um, and I didn't smoke at all when I was in San Francisco for 4 days. Um, but I did, start smoking it again when I got back, partly to get over some things that really fucking annoyed me about San Francisco. And also just the ennui of, oh man, all my travel's done. Now I've got absolutely nothing to look forward to for as far as my eyes can see. And granted, I need glasses. I wear glasses. But still, they don't help me see anything to look forward to, not one single fucking bit. So it was super easy to fall back into it. And it was also super easy for me to see how, once again, it was fucking up my sinuses, fucking up my breathing, making me cough a lot, making me winded, and just making me lethargic as shit. Um, just completely apathetic. It is something that in the past, when I guess when I used it wisely, or I don't know how to explain it, but it is something in the past that's been a useful tool in terms of like, oh, this will make me sit down and sit still and focus and get shit done. Because weirdly, sometimes it has that effect on me. Um, but also, sometimes I'd have that effect on me. I know, kind of a cool thing to realize about myself. Oh my God, I sound like Kathleen Turner in this. Um, because I'm still getting over it. And have I mentioned it's windy and it's dry and it's cold and it's nothing like the shit that Sanchez has to deal with up there in Winnipeg for 8 to 10 hours of walking and trudging through it. Like, God damn it. Of course you're going to cough for hours and hours and hours every night and stuff like that. Spoiler alert, Sanchez has been coughing a lot at night. Oh man, I hope I didn't reveal too much. So here's the thing. God damn it, it's like it's a whole burping coughing thing. Is it going to happen? No. Is it? Okay, got that one out of the way. So so it's something I've been thinking about, and because of that, and in general, I've cut my weed intake dramatically from my first couple of years here. Um, like dramatically. I used to buy an ounce at a time, um, and was probably smoking an ounce to 2 ounces a month, maybe my first year here, while everything was just falling apart around me and myself. Um, And so I gotten to the point where I was only buying a couple of grams at a time, a gram of the stuff that's good for the daytime, and a gram of the strain that's good for sleeping at the nighttime. And so that way, when I have a small amount, I can really see just how much I'm smoking. I can really see just how quickly I was going through it. Um, and And of course, to get it, I have to walk a mile each direction, a mile to the dispensary and a mile uphill back. So that's good exercise. So the more, rather than stockpiling and not getting as much walking in, I would buy less and walk more and monitor how quickly I was going through it and learn to pace myself through and all that. So my plan was I had bought a limited supply that was going to see me through Thanksgiving weekend. Um, and then that was going to be the end of it. And I had just enough to get through. And the Tuesday before that Thanksgiving weekend, I had lunch with one of my wonderful friends, and her husband very generously gave her at least a gram or two of his own supply to pass on to me as a gift, as a hey, I know this stuff costs money. I grow it in my basement, maybe with mold, I don't know. Um, and here's a free gift. And I can't say no to a free gift, nor could I flush that gift down the toilet. So now suddenly I had twice as much pot as I planned on having, and I still had my internal deadline of by Sunday after Thanksgiving, Sunday after Genocide Day. Really, come on, let's be real here about Thanksgiving. It's Genocide Day. Um, so Sunday after the Holocaust of Native Americans, um, I was going to be done with everything, and suddenly I had twice as much to get through. And I thought about it and I was like, well, maybe I'll just delay it a week, because I mean really it was that much that I could have spaced it out for like a week. Um and then I was like, no, because if I do that, that opens the door for me to find some other reason to extend it once I finish it. Once I give myself one kind of an out, it's easy to try to find a whole bunch of other excuses and ways out that I at least should not indulge in. Um, and then I also thought about one of the things that makes it hard to quit something that you enjoy is because you enjoy it. But it's been very easy for me to quit things, including people, since I've gotten a little bit more backbone, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more self-awareness, a little bit more experience, all of that shit in a lovely little mix master, little shake it up, and poof, wisdom. Um, it's really easy for me to avoid the negative. It's a good thing for the PTSD to avoid the negative. And well, that trick that parents play on their kid, like they discover their 10 or 11 or 13-year-old kid is smoking a cigarette. So then the parent, usually the dad, this seems like a dad thing. I don't know. Mine died when I was super young, so I don't really know what dads do. I know what stepdads do, and I'm not going to talk about it. Um, um, But what they'll do with the kid is like, oh, you like that? You think you want to smoke? You think smoking is so fucking cool? All right, then, here's an entire pack of cigarettes. Sit here, smoke the entire pack of cigarettes, smoke till you're coughing and vomiting and snot's running from your nose and your eyes, and therefore you will think smoking is terrible. Unless, of course, you're a kid with a whiff of addiction running through your bloodstream, and it might be the perfect way to say, hey, now I'm a smoker. It could go either way with tobacco, because it's such a nasty thing. um but I decided to apply that same logic with weed. I was going to go ahead and smoke twice as much as I planned on, which is certainly twice as much as anyone should have smoked. I mean, other people could handle it. Um, but I decided I was going to go ahead and double down and make myself miserable with it. Or at least, yeah, I mean, it was not, it stopped by Saturday, it stopped being enjoyable. Um, because that's when I really had to double down, because I'd been like pacing myself pretty well, because who wants to deliberately make themselves feel like shit? Okay, the mentally ill among us will sometimes do that, but we don't really want to. We just do. Um so so by Saturday I was like, okay, I'm gonna go through this, and to make it even more disgusting for myself, um I didn't clean my bong. Um, I would sometimes clean out the stem, because just seeing that thick black resin, it's like, look, let's not be insane about this. I'm going to still make myself miserable, but let's not make it completely toxic. So I would scrape that out. But I would leave everything else gross. I would make all of it like as unappealing as possible, except for, of course, the Thanksgiving food I made for myself. That was very appealing. Maybe I'll get to that. Um, and so I just kept smoking and smoking and smoking and coughing and coughing and coughing, um, and disrupting my sleep and my sinuses. My nose was so congested that I was like a fucking mouth breather, and that would wake me up multiple times during the night just because my throat would be so dried out and disgusting. Um, and and by Sunday night, I still had some left, and I was like, fuck it, I'm flushing this little bit down the, like, I'm done. Like message received, experiment is done. I don't need to push myself any further. I have fully embraced all of the negative connotations, negative associations, physical discomfort and harm that I need to experience, because I now have no positive association with weed. And so I flushed it down the toilet, felt very proud of myself, and I've still been working through a cold ever since then, as you can probably tell. Um, Man, my ears even feel clogged. I know they're not. It's just I haven't spoken in 3 days, so it's all weird. Um, so yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks on Sunday. Um, I haven't missed it at all, because I can tell how I've been getting better physically since I took myself to the brink of the worst ashy astrodome possible. So much ash, it's so disgusting. Oh, and when I finished with it all, I've not cleaned out my bong still. I haven't thrown it out. Um, because I kind of like toyed with that last year of like, I'm just gonna give all this stuff away, and then I was like, that's not realistic, because then I might end up just going out and rebuying it. So why waste money? Like, either, whatever. We all have our ways of rationalizing whatever the fuck we do. But what I've done is I've still kept my equipment, but I've kept it completely filthy. I've poured out the disgusting bong water, but all the ash and resin and all of that is still there, and it's locked away in a canister where I don't see it. Um, and like I said, I can feel myself physically improving. I can feel my lungs getting stronger again. My sinuses are clear. They're dried as fuck, and I'm still coughing. This dry fucking cough that won't go away. But everybody has that dry fucking cough right now this winter that won't go away. Apparently, the flu is really on the rise. And I feel pretty good about it, because in the past when I've quit, I've missed it. Um, and in the past when I've quit, I've never doubled down and made myself deliberately sick with it. So I really think I learned how to trick myself on this one. I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh, I'm never gonna do it ever again," because who knows? I might decide to. Um, but I don't see any reason to. I don't have any interest in it. Um, it's weird readjusting to how one spends one's day. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's I'm figuring out like how to spend my days differently. Kind of like when I finally realized in my apartment how fucking comfortable and safe I finally feel now that all my shitty neighbors are gone. It's like, well, fuck, what do I do with all my time now that I'm not constantly filled with rage and fixating on the same terrible thoughts and what if scenarios and imaginary fights in my head over and over again? What am I going to do with my day if I'm not constantly running to the windows and to see what the fuck that noise is, or if I'm not watching security camera footage or all of that shit that took up so much time and made me so fucking miserable? Well, now it's like, gee, I used to like, if I would finish one thing, it'd be like cigarette smokers taking a smoke break. I would do that with weed. Um, And I gotta say, one of the many reasons why I'm super glad that I was never a cigarette smoker is because I know it would make quitting this that much harder. Because almost everybody else that I know that's been a heavy pot smoker has also been a cigarette smoker. Um, Whereas I have always found smoking completely disgusting. It's just every other method of intake doesn't affect me in the way that I like it to affect me. Like eating it can be a nightmare. Vaping just made me feel crappier than smoking. Anyway, um, so I've been making lots of tea. I've been making lots of tea. It's like I'm British now. And I just turn to my cat and say, "Oh, shall I put the kettle on?" Did you see? I didn't even bother trying to do an accent because I can't do them. Um, so I've been making lots of tea, which is a great way to get water in your body when your throat is fucked up. Because I'm mainly drinking decaf tea, all the fancy flavorful teas. Um, but there is the boredom. Um, because again, I just haven't kickstarted into whatever my next way of spending my time is going to be. I'm still learning that. Part of it is still learning to live alone, I guess. Part of it is learning to feel safe at home, which is weird to say while we're every day it's a brand new shining apocalyptic moment in history. It's weird to say that I feel safe at home because I don't. I feel like we're done. I feel like the bad guys won. I'm just marking time until I don't know, I'm hauled off in a train, a bomb is dropped. There's a 30 to 50% chance that North Korea is going to throw some shit our way. It's a 30% chance that Oregon and Portland will have the big one in terms of earthquakes before I die. So I'm feeling pretty fatalistic and weirdly calm about it because there's just, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna make some fucking tea, is what you're gonna do. Speaking of apocalypse and political shakeups and stuff, we had 3 congressmen resign this week. 3, 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. I'm going to focus on the Republican. Look, I'm glad that the Democratic ones resigned. Fuck Nancy Pelosi. Fuck her. Get rid of her. Get rid of Chuck Schumer too. Fuck them both. But yeah. But the one that I'm going to talk about is just super briefly, because it's a weird one. Trent Franks. He's a congressman who asked his female aides if they'd be surrogate moms, carry his seed. Because I guess if you can't tell a woman just to go in the kitchen and make you a goddamn sandwich, you can at least say, "Hey, can I rent your womb? Can I implant myself in your lovely, spacious womb? And then you can shove out a mini-me from your vagina. Is that cool? Is that okay?" That's what he was asking. He wasn't getting handsy, apparently. He was just reducing women to basically all they're good for, fucking breeding. And I thought about it because it really put something he said in the past in a whole different light. Back in 2013, when there was some abortion law on the table, or maybe an abortion on the table. I don't know. I wasn't there. It was about he was discussing, like late abortions in the case of rape and incest. And he said, I quote, "Incidents of rape resulting in pregnancy are very low." Now, this makes me wonder, is that empirical knowledge that he had? Like when he wasn't able to get his wife pregnant through making love, did he say, "I know what'll do it, I'll rape you. I'll catch you unawares and sneak up behind you and slip you the dick"? Or Are we going to hear about other female staff members or female acquaintances who are like, yeah, you know what? He slipped me a Mickey. He raped me. I didn't know he was trying to get me pregnant. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Oh, men. Men and your dicks. Quit swinging them. Now, I don't really think that he was necessarily on some like Johnny Appleseed rape spree trying to get women pregnant. That's more of a bad joke. Still haven't learned how to write the right to rape joke. Because isn't that part and parcel of every comedian's tool bag? A rape joke? I'll work on it. I'll work on it. Soon we'll have baby's first rape joke. But not today. So let's see. I've got a table full of index cards here of all the other stuff that's been going on. I mean, fuck. Almost a month ago, I wrote index cards about going to the food bank. But, you know, once it's done and I haven't said it, I don't feel like saying it. We'll see. Maybe I'll talk about it some other time. So, like I said, we are in the apocalypse. All of California appears to be burning right now. I was actually on Amazon yesterday looking up different gas masks. Because we had the fires here in Oregon last summer where I had to stay inside for a couple of days because of the ash falling. And, you get like the wrong splinter of wood in your lungs and you are fucked. And so yeah, I was online looking at gas masks, not just thinking about fires, but just thinking about there's going to be a fucking awful backlash to the Me Too thing, for one thing. There's going to be a horrible fucking backlash with whatever happens with Trump and Russia. I just don't feel good. So when you don't feel good, you quit smoking pot and you look for a gas mask, right? Of course. So I guess it's a depression that I'm having. But it really feels more like a realistic response to a shitty situation. I don't feel actively depressed in that I'm not crying, mainly because I kind of just don't feel like I have any more fucking tears to cry for myself or the world anymore. And it's also super self-protective, because you know what else is bad for sinuses? Crying fucks them up like a motherfucker. So I just feel kind of like dead or numb, kind of shruggy, and meh, eh, oh, this is happening. Oh, now this. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, here, this. I'm just going through the motions, which is something that I trained myself to do in the past with my depression. Like I've talked about before, I got really good at vacuuming while crying. Because I figured, well, God damn it, I don't want to just sit and cry. Vacuuming needs to be done. I hate vacuuming. Let me combine two things that I hate and get them over with. And so, I've been going through the motions, pulling a bunch of stuff to purge. For some reason, December is my year of purge, is my time of purging. Last December was when I sold a bunch of records. Earlier this week, Monday, I sold a bunch of DVDs and only got $55 for them, which in a way was more than I thought, but really when you break it down DVD by DVD, it's chump change. But they've got to figure out the resale market, blah, blah, blah. I'm a woman selling them, not a man. Of course, I'm going to assume that plays into it when it's such a like testosterone driven environment that I'm selling them in. And that money didn't get to go to anything fun because the one medication that I do still take occasionally for anxiety, it's the thing that will help me sleep at night, or if I have to go to the grocery store, but I feel too thin-skinned, like I might just verbally lash out at anybody who doesn't stop their car at a red light or who says something inappropriate. If I just feel like I want to be in more control of my behavior out in public, I'll pop one of these tiny little uh, hydroxyzine pills. It's like a tiny, tiny baby dose. It's basically like taking a Tylenol PM. Because it will make me fucking nap out in the day too if I take them. So I really avoid it. But I was out, and my insurance doesn't cover it. So a 3 month supply is $61. So that's what my DVD money went for. I literally took the check, deposited it, and then went to the pharmacy up the street and picked up my prescription. Easy peasy done. And I still have more DVDs to sell and get rid of. And I found out that this place, they also buy records. They also buy vinyl and punk rock stuff of my era. So I might unload some more of that there, just because I don't know. I like not having stuff. I wouldn't say that I'm naturally a minimalist by any means, but I've always been a purger. Like when I was a preteen and a teenager, I used to buy rock magazines all the time, like Cream and Rolling Stone and Hit Parader and Circus and all that kind of stuff, to read about my favorite bands and child rapists. Ugh, gross. I would keep them, but then once a month or so, I would go through them, tear out only the pictures or whatever that I wanted to keep, and throw the rest of the magazines away. And I was always, whenever my drawers got too crowded with stuff, I would go through and find stuff to throw away and get rid of. Because I fucking hate clutter. I fucking hate having to take care of stuff when I can barely take care of myself on most days. And unfortunately, back then, my mom would literally go through my trash can to see what I was throwing out and then get mad at me for getting rid of it. So I would have to. There were times when I would take stuff to school just so I could throw it out there rather than her go through my trash can asking, "Why are you getting rid of this t-shirt?" I'll just throw it out at school. It's a lot easier. Oh, families are funny things. It never seemed that way to me. So anyway, I've been purging. Because the other great thing, I mean, part of it is also because I've always lived in apartments. I always think about when I'm going to have to move and what a pain in the ass that's going to be. Now, my last moves, I've been lucky because I've had hired hands or ex partners to help with the heavy lifting. But if and when I move out of this place, I'm not going to have the disposable income for that. And who knows, it might be because I'm escaping to go somewhere. So the less stuff I have to worry about, the better. Right, sure. So I've been doing that with my depression. And it's also been fun because I've been giving, like, I've got a whole pile of stuff that I'm going to give to my Catwoman friend when the next time I see her. Blah blah blah. And I've been giving stuff to the when I went out to lunch with my friend the week of Native American genocide. Because she's got a car, that meant I could dump off a bunch of stuff to Goodwill, and all that kind of thing. The other good news about quote unquote my depression, I'm not beating myself up. It's very weird. I'm not thinking that I'm a piece of shit because I'm depressed, because everybody's fucking depressed right now. It's kind of super comforting not to feel like the only one that feels bad in the world. Like, I feel like I'm in good company. Everybody's fucking miserable and joking and talking about it. It's no longer this, like so many things, they're no longer secrets. And when they're no longer secrets, it's a lot easier to deal with. And I'm also just not fixating on stuff. Well, that's not entirely true. It's not entirely true, but it's also not entirely false. I don't have CNN streaming constantly in the background like I have in the past. I've been dipping in and out of watching the California wildfires because it's like watching a miniseries. you kind of know what's going to happen. I like the color orange. I have such a fear of fire. I've talked about it before. Um, but I know that the best way for me to consume information is to read it instead of listen to a bunch of banana heads, courtesy Jackie Cation, banana head, rather than just like listening to people like screaming at each other and cutting each other off. Um, I'll check Twitter way too much, or Reddit way too much, or um, any other news source, Facebook trending news way too much. Like I'll do that like at least once an hour, um, which I would really like to not do. But things really are happening crazy fast here. And granted, it may not have a direct impact on me, but it's impacting the world that I'm inhabiting. And I believe it's good to always know what temperature your world is in because I don't know, that's just how I am. So I am kind of fixating on that a little bit, but not in a internalizing kind of way. It's kind of like, oh, this is the latest bullshit. Okay, check mark done. I've checked in now. Let me check out. Let me go watch a Joan Didion documentary, or let me go watch the documentary Voyeur with Gay Talese. That was really interesting on Netflix. That's another thing. Well, yeah. I'm getting rid of Netflix again. I picked it up for 1 month just so I could watch some Maria Bamford stuff and I watched this She's Gotta Have It series that was, Spike Lee did, um, of named and based on the same movie, but this is done as a series. But I've canceled that, so that's a nice savings of like what, $10 a month. I'm being like super, super good with my finances. Which when you don't have many, it really pays to do good with it. So that way you don't make it worse. I have a habit where usually it's on a Thursday. I'll obligatory listen to something that's more of a bad habit than anything else. And so while I'm doing that, that's when I'll sit and go through all of my finances and see where I am for the week. And, is there something that needs to be paid that week, or what can I pay ahead of time? All that kind of thing. And so I canceled Hulu the because I was going to do net. This is so boring, but I don't care. We're having catch up time, ladies, and maybe a guy here or there. I don't know. So when I decided to do Netflix for a month, I canceled Hulu to offset the cost. Because again, being super thrifty. Because I still have dental work to pay off, and a trip to Paris to pay off. So when I was going in to cancel Hulu online, they were like, "Are you sure you want to cancel? Maybe you just want to suspend it for a month." And I'm like, "Nah, I really want to cancel. Don't want to just suspend for a month. Really want to cancel it, because what's the point of suspending it when I know I'm gonna probably come back to it, but let me just go ahead and cancel it while I'm doing Netflix." And then I got this pop-up thing saying, "Look, if you don't cancel, we'll give you a month free." So cool. It basically did exactly what I wanted it to do. I didn't have to suspend it and go without it. I didn't have to cancel it and go without it. I got a month for free. And I'm probably gonna still keep fucking Hulu. I'd really like to get rid of it because I've got Amazon Prime and I've got YouTube, and I've really been watching into like just watching old movies on YouTube. Anyway, who cares? While we're doing the financial portion of the catch-up episode, let's just call this the catch-up episode. Hello, Heinz. Heinz! Hurry, Heinz! Hurry! Hurry, Heinz! Heinz, hurry! If you know what that's in reference to, we are instantly friends. I'm gonna guess that you probably don't know what that's in reference to. Heinz! Heinz, hurry! Go ahead, try to Google it. I don't even know if it'll come up. Anyway, so let's see. Oh yeah, the other financial news. I might get free phone service. There's this thing for low income people, where you could get free landline phone service. Like that would do me zero fucks good. Um, because who the fuck uses a landline? So I never signed up for it. Instead, I finally last year, it meant I had to buy a new phone, but it still meant in the long run for the rest of that year I saved money by switching to Republic. So I got my cell phone bill down to 29.99 a month, $30 a month, for everything that I need a cell phone for, because I realize I really don't need a cell phone very much at all. It's good to have when I'm out in the world on the bus as a safety tool, or to look up stuff for like when the bus is going to show up, or Google Maps. But otherwise, I have Wi-Fi at home. I'm home most of the time. I can just do everything that way. So I got it down to $30 a month. Then when I was at the grocery store, I guess because I paid with food stamps, it automatically generated this receipt thing, giving me information about free cell phone service. So excited. I forget what the limit is going to be, but it'll be like apparently I can make as many phone calls. I have like 1,000 minutes of phone calls, which I will never make because I never fucking talk to anybody on the phone. But for what I need it for, just when I'm out on the bus, it'll be perfect. And it'll be free. So imagine if I can save that extra $30 a month. That may not sound like a lot, but when your income is $13.75 a month and your rent is $9.25 a month, every fucking bit helps, especially when you're trying to pay off debt. Which, by the way, I've been doing fucking awesome on. My stupid dental bill, I pay twice as much as the minimum rate each month. Sometimes I've paid 4 times the amount because I'll pay it 2 times in 1 month. That's part of the whole weekly check-in thing. Oh, I'm checking in. I still have an extra month's rent in my checking account with X amount of dollars above my rent. Let me use those X amount of dollars to pay off more debt, because then that discourages me from pissing away the money on some kind of bullshit like coloring books. And I also have finally gotten it through my fat head that if worst case scenario, my disability check is delayed and I don't have enough money in my checking account to pay my rent, I can instantly get it from my credit card, easy peasy. And so why not just pay off the debt and force myself to live as meagerly as one should when you're fucking poor? And I know I just said that my disability income is $13.75. Well, I just got notice in the mail yesterday that it's about to go up to $1,400. I know. That's another $25. So imagine that $25 plus saving $30 a month on fucking cell phone. That's $55 extra a month that I have to go towards paying off debt. Plus not spending anywhere between 50 to $100 a month on weed. That's I gotta say, I may be depressed, but I'm fucking, can't see this, but I'm tapping my head about being a fucking genius, taking care of my shizats. Because the thing about paying off your debt, it's good for your credit rating, and that's important whenever you need to find a place to live. And I'm always thinking one step ahead because I don't take anything for granted. I've never been able to, so I'm not going to start now. And speaking of purging, I've also purged a person from my life. That's right. We all know how I just love to kick people to the curb when I realize that they're not good for me. I recommend it. It's really great. It's really great. It frees up. If you're somebody who is prone to, when you're upset about someone or something, constantly picking it like a scab so it gets all oozy and then it heals over and then you pick it some more and then it gets oozy and you pick it some more and becomes this like gross gangrene infected gnarliness in your heart and soul. Don't do that. Just get rid of the shit that sucks. You can't do that with everything. You can't just walk out of a job. I know that. Um, and you can't necessarily kick family members to the curb, although I have, not physically. Um, but getting rid of toxic dead weight just gives me so much more energy for the people that I do care about, like my French friends that I've been emailing. In fact, my French friends, my friend Ben, the woman who's in this band called Petra Pierre de Biche, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. That's right, my black French female friend, because I'm so cool. I've got all the check marks of demographics down there. No, she sent me lyrics to a new song of hers in English to see if the translation, made sense. Um, and it was great because she actually used this phrase in the song that she had used when we were talking about privilege and people not being willing to talk about the difficult things. And I said, well, maybe Whitey doesn't feel, maybe Whitey is a chicken shit talking about race because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing, or they're shy or scared of putting their foot in their mouth or whatever. Maybe that's why some Whiteys aren't as comfortable talking about race as this little cracker is. And she's like, no, it's just the privilege of denial. They don't talk about it because they don't have to. I'm like, that's a good point. That's why we haven't heard men speaking up at all about misogyny until the past couple of weeks. Really. If even then. Oh, I'm so disappointed in so many guys I know on Facebook. Anyway, not going to go down there. So anyway, the what we were talking about, that the privilege of denial was one of the lyrics in the song. I was like, that's great. That's from our conversation. Nice. And so she sent me the song in English, and I said, okay, before I say anything about the language, my assumption is this song is about X. And if if I'm interpreting the song the way I think it's to be interpreted, then your translation is perfect. Otherwise, let me know if I'm misinterpreting it and whatever. But apparently I interpreted it right, which means the translation was perfect. And so now, and I also told her, like, yeah, anytime you want to run shit like this past me, please feel free to. Because like I said, her boyfriend, my friend, Jose, that I stayed with, when the woman who wrote a book about and started Black Lives Matter, when her book came out, he knew it wasn't going to be translated in French for at least a year, if even then, because you just never know which books are actually going to get translated and get mass release in another country. But he knew that it was something that was really important and that people in France and French-speaking people should be aware of, because, there are Black people in France. That's the other thing that's so weird. I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but Ben, that's her name. She told me that she's constantly asked where she's originally from. Like, people just don't understand that, no, Black people are born in France. They weren't all, she didn't come over from a boat. She was, anyway. I forget where I was going with that. Oh God, am I going to have to rewind this a tiny bit to see where I am? Oh no, I know now. Look at me go. See? Clear-headed because it's not so pot-fogged. So there was an interview with the woman who did Black Lives Matter in English, um, on YouTube. That was like over an hour long. And I may have talked about this before, and I'm super sorry if I did. And so what Jose did was he transcribed the entire interview in French and then re-uploaded the interview with French subtitles. Yeah, that's what that French honky, that little cracker, that little French Whitey McWhiterstein, that's what he did. It's pretty fucking cool. So now they know, like, oh, if you're ever like concerned about translation, just send stuff to me, because obviously we all have the same sensibilities and stuff. And so Ben and I have become little pen pals. It's so adorable. She has that same hyper cheerfulness that the suicidally depressed have, and it's just like, I recognize this. I love this so much. It's the oh my god, I actually feel good. Let me just run with this for as long as I fucking can, because I know the anvil is going to drop sooner or later. Like I said, I think I said this. I can't remember how much I've talked about Paris. Probably nowhere near enough. We have a lot in common in terms of baggage and damage. We have a lot in common in terms of baggage and damage. To where we, even speaking different languages, we could finish each other's sentences practically. So, we've been sending stuff back and forth in terms of like what we've been watching, what we've been reading, what we've been listening to. I sent her a bunch of photos of feminist graffiti and class graffiti, classist, economic, Marxist, whatever, class conscious graffiti that I had taken in San Francisco, and she liked them so much that she asked if she could host them on her blog. It's just, god damn, I wish we lived in the same place. She and I mean, I love my female friends here that I don't see nearly enough of, and that I don't communicate nearly enough with, because that's just how we all are. But I really, really wish I lived in the same place that Ben and Jose live. Anyway, I think what I like most about them, Ben and Jose, and why I wish I lived closer with them, is how much they live their ethics and live their morals without apology, in ways that I don't know if it's an American thing. I don't know. But Jose was the first guy that, when I had told him about being raped while I was part of the whole supposedly super cool DC hardcore scene, he was the first guy that visibly winced when I told him that, and who immediately took my side, who immediately believed me, who didn't question me, who didn't expect me to go into detail about it, and who didn't do the thing that I can't fucking tell you how many guys have said, oh, please tell me that it wasn't someone in XYZ band, because they're so afraid that somebody in their favorite band might have been the person who did this to me. Which is a really fucked up priority to have when your friend is telling you something painful that's happened to them. Oh man, I hope Ian Mackay isn't the one that did it, because like I love Minor Threat, and now I feel really awkward if I listen to Minor Threat knowing that. I mean, I'll still listen to them. No, Jose did none of that. And I've also made him aware of some other predatory behavior from other musicians, record company, like small label record company people, And I noticed when I visited him this time, because I'd been to his apartment once before when on a previous trip to Paris, but this time I noticed that, like, he's one of those, he's a fanboy, a fanboy with a conscience, who has like records hanging up on his walls and stuff. Um, all those records are gone. Anything associated with the sexual predatory, um, and assaultive behavior of people that I had referenced, he took them down pretty much like right after I had told him that. Um, yeah, it's kind of cool, kind of cool, that whole live in your ethics thing. It's kind of cool being around people who are like, oh man, you're just too pure. You just have too many rules. You just have too many standards. Like, well, yeah, like I'm not saying believe in God. I'm not telling you to believe in magic dust. I'm just telling you, don't be a dick. And if somebody's being a dick, call them out and then distance yourself from them. Simple. Apparently it's not that simple for most people. Okay, I'm digressing. Um so anyway, back to purging. Um Joy. I've mentioned her before. I've spoken highly of her before, even though I had some reservations. There we go, the Native American genocide again. Haha. So I hung out with Joy when I got back from Paris, and we sat and talked. And she brought up again, she has a best friend that she's known for like 30 or 40 years. Remember, Joy's 71 years old. So she's had this friend for fucking ever. Joy used to live in Seattle. She moved to Portland when she left her husband. This friend came down to visit her from Seattle. While her friend, a lady, was visiting, we'll call her friend Barbara. While Barbara was visiting, Barbara's daughter, who has a long history of addiction issues and mental health issues, because guess what? Having fucked up mental health will probably domino into addiction. It's kind of how it works for many people. Um, so Barbara's daughter called up in crisis mode, feeling suicidal, and her daughter has had a history. Part of the way her mental health plays out is self-harm, and she's been hospitalized before, either for detox or to prevent harm. So Barbara was obviously visibly upset and on the phone with her daughter in Portland trying to calm her down, and it weighed upon her while she was there, and she was even thinking of going back to Seattle, but instead she just kept monitoring the situation there from Portland. And Joy became increasingly fed up with the situation. Those were her words. She was fed up. And apparently Joy told Barbara to just quit talking about it and get over it and enjoy her time there in Portland, because she was ruining her vacation and she was ruining their time together by fixating on her own fucking daughter, who was in a suicidal crisis mode. Now, it doesn't matter if it's an attention-seeking suicidal. You don't know, because you're not that daughter and you're not fucking Barbara. How the fuck dare you tell a mother to ignore her own fucking kid in crisis, and to still carry that resentment? Because Joy has brought this up almost every time that we've hung out, because apparently there's still ongoing issues with the daughter, obviously, and of this medication not working or her behavior changing on that medication. And I had told Joy, my own problems with medication, and I would kind of say like, oh, that reminds me of this or that reminds me of that. just to try to say something supportive about the daughter, like this girl, this woman in her 30s isn't just making shit up. I have lived through some of this myself. And so what then Joy would say is, "Oh, that's really good. I'll tell her mom that she should do that instead, or do this instead." Or it's like, no, 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 no. I'm not playing armchair psychologist for somebody I've never met who's thousands miles away, and you shouldn't either. Like, don't make it more complicated. This girl doesn't need people ganging up on her. The girl needs help, and her mom is hopefully the best person to steer her in that direction. You, Miss Joy, telling somebody to shut up and quit focusing on it is the last person who needs to be giving advice. So, okay, that was one thing that ongoing had been sticking in my craw. And I'd also mentioned before, like she and I hung out right after, like the end of the week, the Friday after the woman was killed in Charlottesville by some Nazi ramming his car into a crowd of protesters. And she wasn't even aware of that because she only checks the headlines maybe every couple of days at most. And she only checks the headlines. She doesn't read the news. I think I also maybe mentioned that she asked me who the vice president was. Not because she's old, she doesn't fucking pay attention. And I can't, that goes against my personal morals of like, dude, you should be fucking well informed because it's going to affect your Social Security, it's going to affect your Medicare, it's going to affect your neighbors, it's going to affect your family, it affects all of us. So play a part in it. Play some kind of fucking engaged part. And so that, came up when we were hanging out. We ended up going on a 6-mile walk the last time we hung out. I was not intending or expecting to do that because it was cold and I didn't really feel all that great. But it was what she wanted to do. And I still haven't completely learned how to say no to people that I'm not comfortable with, which, ding, 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 that tells me I should not be comfortable with them. Because people that I am comfortable with, I can say no to. Those are the people that I should be around. Adoy. So anyway, we're walking and talking. And again with the politics, again with the news. And I asked her, kind of point blank, like, why are you so willfully ignorant? I didn't quite put it that way, but I was like, why do you not participate as a citizen of the country that you live in? Especially, I mean, she was a fucking army nurse at one point. Jesus Christ. And, she just kind of sighed and she's like, "Oh, I blame the internet. There's just too much information just constantly bombarding us all the time. Like it was better back in the days of the Pony Express." Yes, she really said that. It was better in the days of the Pony Express when you got news maybe once a day or maybe once a week. And I'm like, yeah, well, here's the thing about the Pony Express and the lack of information. You weren't hearing about all the lynching that was going on. Super easy to cover up any stories of lynching or about how shitty women were being treated or how shitty other immigrants were being treated or how people were embezzling money or just any kind of nefarious shit happening. Super easy not hearing about abuse and degradation of women and children. So that makes it a lot easier for that racist, sexist, classist bullshit to continue because the powers that be can keep you in the fucking dark. Because, like, I know Nietzsche was fucked up in a lot of ways. So as a sister, we'll table that for now. Someday there'll be a Nietzsche episode. No. But knowledge is power. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not all one thing or the other. Either you constantly are an idiot like me checking Twitter and the news like at least once an hour. I don't recommend that for anybody. But you can read the news of the day once a day. You can do that. You can do your own version of the Pony Express if hearing about reality is really that hard for you and your place of privilege. And that's what it gets back to. She doesn't have to worry about that because she's got enough money to not worry about whichever way the wind blows. She's looking at the last years of her life, so what the fuck does she care about her grandkids and what happens to her kids? Which is frankly kind of shitty. Shouldn't you care about? I mean, people are always talking about children are the future. She's got kids. She's got grandkids. Shouldn't she want to fight for a better world for them? No? Okay. So that hanging out with her bothered me so much that I wasn't able to email Ben and Jose, the people that I really wanted to, because I was just so caught up in like telling them about it and just read that I was fixating badly on it over and over and over again. And I was like, I don't need this. This is not a person that I'm not enjoying our conversations because she's got the privilege of denial. She doesn't have to know what's going on. So who cares? Well, then good. She can go be ignorant on her own. And she knows the deal because when we were hanging out, I was talking about what had gone on in San Francisco and how I reevaluated those friendships as a result of that. So I'm sure when she wasn't hearing from me, she kind of maybe figured it out. Let me go ahead and be petty one more time. So the thing with hanging out with Joy is always me showing her how to do something. She wanted to learn how to utilize public transportation more, the buses and the light rail and the fucking streetcars and the maps and all that because she hadn't figured it out on her own yet. And I guess her granddaughter hadn't shown her. So that would be a lot of our going out and doing stuff. And then when we last went for a walk, she mentioned that the next time we hung out, she'd really like me to take her to the main branch of the library downtown because she's lived here for 2 years and has never been to the main branch of the library. There's nothing secret about the main branch of the library. When she and I have been walking around downtown in the past, we've walked right by it. There's nothing keeping her from having figured that shit out on her own. She's figured out Powell's, which is further away than the main branch library is, but that's what she wanted one of our outings to be. And I'm sitting there thinking, bitch, you have a car. And at no time during the beautiful autumn did you ever say, would you like to go for a drive somewhere and see something out of city limits? I had even been dropping hints about the fact that I was feeling like a polar bear in a cage, just walking the same terrain over and over again, or riding the same buses over and over again. And I'd mentioned that, that's the downside of not having a car, and just not being a driver, period, is that I can't get myself the fuck out of Dodge unless I get on a goddamn plane, apparently. And it's not that she's a non-driver. She's driven up to Seattle. She's driven to, she drove herself to other parts of Oregon to go hiking and all of that. But she has never once thought to extend that to me. Instead, I'm to show her how to use public transportation and to show her different parts of the city on foot. And it's like, I'm done stepping and fetching, bitch. Maybe she doesn't mean it like that, but that's how it comes across. when she's got this advantage that she's not going to share, and she constantly expects me to share my advantage with her, fuck that noise. So on Thanksgiving Day, Holocaust Day, Native American genocide, uh, guns, germs, and blankets, or whatever the name of that book is. And I was sick on Thanksgiving. Because again, I was doubling down on the smoking. So she messaged me to wish me a happy Turkey Day, and I messaged back saying thanks. You too. I've got a miserable cough or something, like I mentioned the fact that I was also sick, kind of, partly because it's true, partly also because, like, oh, this will also buy me time about why I haven't reached out to hang out with her at all, whatever. And I haven't heard from her since. No follow up with, like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better. No, nothing. Nothing. And I'm like, wow, it's been a long time since I've met someone with absolutely zero compassion or empathy. But we are done. We're done. Dunsy, dunsy, dun dun. Oh yeah, my other petty thing. I know this is a miserable, just bitchy, petty, gossip, whatever, fuck thing. So there, I know her, of course, through the book club. And I had mentioned to her that I was going to be skipping some of the months of book club because I'm just not interested in the books that we're reading. Like, I'm just dead white guys. Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. Seems more irrelevant now than ever. It's like, oh, good. I want to go back to the roots of this garbage that we're dealing with now. No thanks. I read Dead White Guys in college. And she's like, oh, but won't you miss the discussions? No, not if I don't care about what's being talked about. George Will, a conservative writer, can speak very eloquently about baseball because he's written books about it and he loves it a lot and he's a super smart guy. But guess what? I don't give a shit about baseball, so I would not be interested in hearing him talk about it. I don't care how eloquent he is. It's about a topic that I don't care about. So, done. And then I had mentioned, in terms of, oh yeah, we're just talking about a bunch of dead white guys I don't care about. I also mentioned that, we were each supposed to submit a list of 10 books. Then the group would vote on them, and it runs through like a couple of votes before it's whittled down to like what we're going to read for the year. I'm sorry, submit 12 books because there's 12 months in a year. No, 10 books because we don't meet in the summer. Who cares? So my entire list, just to try to get at least one fucking woman on the bill, like it's a comedy show, my whole list was women and a couple of black dudes, black men. Dudes kinds of sounds like a little racially pejorative. Look at me, so sensitive today. Oh, the world's on fire. So that my list had been all that, and I think one of my books, Mill and the Floss by George Eliot, that made the cut. But nothing else did. And I'm not even sure if that's one of the ones that I nominated. That's just one of the only women. That's the only woman we're reading this entire year. Jesus fucking Christ. Out of 10 books, only one. All right, fine. Even though most of the group is female, I don't get it. Oh. Anyway, so, I mentioned that. And she said, oh, I didn't even vote. And I'm like, bitch, you're chastising me for, like, won't you miss the conversations? Oh, how can you skip book club? And you didn't even vote on what we were going to read? Like, that's the first step. Ugh. So yeah, book club. I'm bailing on that for a while because I don't feel like talking about stupid dead white guys and women written in weakling, shallow, petty ways. Because I did try to read one of the books that we were going to be discussing, and it's like, this is making me hate reading. I need to stop this. It was like forcing myself to eat a jar of mustard and pickles. It was just disgusting to me. Not like that viscerally disgusting, but it was miserable. So it's like, this is making me hate reading. And reading is something that I love. And it's the whole reason I joined the fucking book club, was to try to get my face away from the screen and more towards the printed page, because that also builds attention span, concentration. It's good for one's cognitive abilities. It's good for aging. Because I know of my mental side, I know that that can fuck up, and I know how it fucks up my cognitive shit. So whatever steps I can take to try to offset that rather than just make it get worse and worse, that's what I'm trying to do. Kooky self-preservation. I'm down with it. So I went around online and checked out some of the other library book clubs, and most of them meet at night, and I won't go anywhere on the bus after dark alone. Sorry, just not going to happen. But I did find one that meets during the daytime that reads nonfiction, and I don't care about most of the books that they're reading, but in March, they're reading a book about Patty Hearst. Now, Patty Hearst is someone that I became immediately fixated with as a child when she was kidnapped by the SLA, and I saw the footage of her holding a machine gun all dressed in black, and they held up a band. It's a whole thing. Just look up Patty Hearst, SLA. And this guy, Jeffrey Toobin, who you see him all the time on fucking CNN, he's a legal correspondent. He wrote a book about it called, I don't remember what the book is, American Heiress. Cause yeah, Hearst, Hearst. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'll actually get to talk about something that I'm weirdly passionate. Like, who the fuck is passionate about Patty Hearst? I am. It's kind of like, I really want to see the fucking Tanya Hardy movie. Like, I guess I have things for Tanya's, because Patty Hearst's SLA name was Tanya, and then Tanya. Okay. Plus, I already had this autobiography of Patty Hearst that she wrote in 1980, after she was pardoned, that I had gotten a couple of months ago, but haven't, found the excuse to read because I was making myself miserable reading shit by dead white guys I didn't care about. And so I was like, cool, I'll hyper prepare for this, just like I have, when I was super excited about reading Edith Wharton in my previous book club. Okay, enough book talk. So I just finished reading Patty Hearst's autobiography, Every Secret Thing, which is amazing, because she talks about her entire experience being kidnapped. She was kept in a closet for 57 days, blindfolded. They actually put sponges on her eyes and blindfolded her because she was crying so much that everything else was coming loose. So finally, they just used sponges, and they threw her in a closet, kept her locked in there for 57 days, randomly giving her food, and also raping her. A couple of guys raped her. And it was horrific. She was completely broken down psychologically because they kind of like applied the Maoist principle of how you treat prisoners of warfare to get them to do your bidding. Fun things you learn. And that was her defense, was that she was brainwashed, which it's kind of not really the best term to use. She was mentally broken down. And it's totally clear. I mean, you just say, oh, you're trapped in a closet for 57 days and you're raped and you're completely sensory deprived and food deprived. That's going to break you fucking down. And then you're surrounded by people who are heavily armed, telling you that if you don't do what they say, they're going to kill you. And don't try to escape because the FBI is going to kill you anyway, because they know you're with us and we got you to do a bank robbery where you look in the pictures and all of their guns are pointed at her. They didn't even give her bullets in her gun. So yeah, it's a fucked up mess. Um, and what this dickbag Jeffrey Toobin has decided to do with his book American Heiress, which sounds especially tone deaf in this time of the silence breakers and Me Too. Um, he completely denies that she was brainwashed. He thinks she did everything willingly. Yeah. So that's going to be really fun. I'm super looking forward to March. Um, I'm going to read his book, but I kind of need a tiny bit of a break from the SLA and guns and kidnapping. So from the library, for my own personal reading, I have Eliza Schlesinger's book, Girl Logic. If you don't know Eliza Schlesinger, she's got 3 stand-up specials on Netflix. I highly recommend her. And the beautiful Mayim Bialik wrote a foreword for it, so I'm super excited just to read that because I love Mayim Bialik, aka Blossom, aka super smart neuroscientist, super awesome feminist, super devout Jew, super also is kind of a modest person. In her attire. She lives her ethics. I fucking love Mayim Bialik. So much so that I've learned to pronounce her name fluently like that. Oh my God, this is an hour and 20 minutes so far. I'm super sorry. This is what happens when I don't do it for a long time. So I'm not going to talk about the food bank, and I'm not going to talk about the Freddy's cashier. Will I in the future? I don't know. I hope so. I've written down the cards for it, so maybe I should. So let me just wrap up a couple of other things here. Let's see with my lovely cards. It says bedroom windows a la Paris. Let's talk about that. Okay, so my apartment is big, which I'm very fortunate, but that means the living room and kitchen and dining room-ish side of it are super drafty because they're the big, more open spaces. So in the summertime, I hang out in this half of the apartment. Because I can get a breeze better, and it's like why I moved my bed in here last summer, and it was wonderful. But in the wintertime, the 2 bedrooms are a lot better to hang out in because just having the lights on in there will make it warm enough. Like I don't even need to run the heater when I'm in there. So, which is good financially as well as good for not drying me the fuck out. So I sound like this. Hello. And now that all the shitty neighbors are gone, I'm actually learning to enjoy the bedrooms. It's so exciting. But the downside about the bedrooms is that the windows face the parking lot, as you've heard me complain a lot. And I realized when I was in Paris how much I enjoyed Jose's 3rd floor apartment and the fact that he had floor to ceiling windows, and so I was constantly seeing daylight and feeling connected with the world instead of isolated. And seeing the world made me want to go out in the world more. It reminded me that, like, oh my God, the best thing I can do for myself if I don't feel like doing anything is at least walk down to the corner market, whatever. So to get a $2 bag of chips. So like I said, because my windows are right there in the parking lot, it means anybody, as they've done in the past, can just stand right on the other side of my bedroom window and look in. So I can't just like pull the blinds all the way up and pull the curtains aside. What I figured out how to do, and it looks totally hinky, totally hokey pokey. Put your left foot in, take your right foot out, spin it all together, shout, shout, shout. That's not how it goes. So what I figured out was in my desk room, the 2nd bedroom, which is the bigger bedroom, that's where my desk is, my computer, my dressers, and my mirror, and blah, blah, blah. I made half curtains. I had this yellow fabric, which is great for having the light come through it because it's yellow, adoy. So I made half curtains going along the bottom half of the window. So that way I can sit at my desk, pull the blinds all the way up. The lower curtains are too high for anybody to look into my apartment. A tall person could, but they would be a really obvious fucking asshole grown person doing that. And boy, would they be in trouble. I would fuck with them. A little hair trigger rage there. So I can I can, sit at my desk and look out and see all the windy trees, see the sky change from sunny to cloudy, back to sunny again. It was super weird at 10 a.m. again this morning. I could see the moon. What the fuck is the moon still doing there at 10 in the morning when it's bright blue skies? I don't know. I ain't no scientist. Um, it's so nice. It's made such a difference for me. At least on days like today when it's windy and I'm being self-protective with my asthma and it feels 10 degrees colder outside than the temperature is, I can at least see the world and like not feel cut off. And then in my bedroom proper, the way that window is situated, there's actually shrubbery and stuff, so it would like people can't, it's not really inviting or easy for anybody to like walk up to it. But still, it's my bedroom, so I keep that more privately. So I only have a half curtain on one side of the window. It's the window that also has a screen, and that curtain is a little bit more sheer, but it's doubled over multiple layers. Basically, what I've done is like I've set up the half curtains, turned on all the lights, super bright, and then went outside one morning when it was still dark outside so I could see, okay, what is somebody going to see when it's dark outside but bright inside? Perfect. Nothing. Awesome. All they're going to see is the ceiling. Sweet. So now I've just improved my home tremendously. Oh my God. It's just so nice. Even though it makes it draftier in there, I've got a Snuggie, I've got blankets, I can wear hoodies, I can put on a winter cap, I don't fucking care. I get to see daylight, which for almost 3 fucking years I could never do. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how, I couldn't have done the half curtains because of the kids. It's just, it's wonderful. So I'm super proud of that little dumb home improvement thing. Fuck me. And I also learned how to make cauliflower rice. That's right, cauliflower rice. It's really fucking easy. It's really fucking good. And it's so much healthier than ricey rice. I've only done it once. I've been waiting for my food stamps to kick in again before I bought more fresh vegetables. It kicks in today. But again, I'm staying home. So that's my exciting thing. I made cauliflower rice. And I did treat myself to one kitchen utensil thing that was on sale. I don't even know how I decided to do this or discovered that such a thing existed or whatever. But I bought myself a spiralizer. That's right, a fucking spiralizer. Because I get sick of eating kale and spinach and carrots and green beans. Sure, I could add broccoli to the mix, but it doesn't agree with my stomach so much. Corn, forget that. I don't trust a food that looks the same going out as it does going in. I'm a fan of squash, among other things, and potatoes. But the spiralizer, yeah, I made fucking squash noodles with, I don't remember like what other stuff. Oh, one of the things I'd gotten myself it was a Trader Joe's Thanksgiving, a Trader Joe's Holocaust. I got myself some cranberry salsa. Oh, so good. So I mixed that in with the spiralized noodles. Yeah, my spiralizer. It's fucking awesome. Yesterday, I spiralized some potatoes with and I forget like what other stuff I added to it, but that was super good. So yeah, it's a way for me to continue to eat healthier and healthier, which is also way easier to do now that I'm not smoking pot. Oh my God, I've had a bag of chocolate covered donuts last like just like a small little 7-Eleven bag. Um it's lasted me for it's on its 4th day. Now, if I were still smoking pot, it would have been gone all in one night. Bags of chips are lasting for days at a time, even a week at a time. Um, and I also when I'm smoking pot, I feel like I crave junk food a lot more than when I'm not smoking pot. I don't know. Could just be a me thing. Um, so yeah, that's the other little self-improvement thing. Also for Turkey Day, I got myself a turkey breast one of the little just bone-in things that's like $6.99 a pound. And I didn't think about how many pounds it was until suddenly, oh fuck, that cost me $24. That's not worth the money just for 3 days worth of food. Maybe it is. I don't know. I made stuffing and I made mashed potatoes and I also got some cranberry orange relish, which is really good, especially mixed with yogurt. Um, I feel like I got myself a couple of other treats too. Green beans cooked in bacon grease, of course. That's the only way to cook green beans as far as I'm concerned. Fuck you. Gravy. Yeah, I did the whole thing. I just made myself a nice little feast because it is my favorite meal in the world. I've even had it for myself for my birthday in August, which is kind of ridiculous to heat an entire oven just to make turkey on your birthday, but that's been done for me in the past. Um, I don't know if I'm going to do it for myself for Christmas because I just don't care about Christmas. I feel a cough coming on. But anyway, enough about that. Oh, um, another, this is not an improvement, I gotta say. Okay, so sorry about that smacking sound there. He says, not my dentures falling out of my mouth like Donald Trump at the end of his speech. Jesus Christ. That's sloppy. Oh, that was so weird. Anyway, so downtown in Portland, there's Pioneer Courthouse Square, also known as Portland's living room. Although, granted, anybody who's moved here in the past 10 years probably isn't aware of that, fuckers. And inside Pioneer Courthouse Square, TriMet has an office where you can get your bus passes and pick up maps and routes and all that. And then there's also like a little tourism answer desk there for, for tourists. And you can pick up all sorts of brochures and stuff about different neighborhoods and what have you. But most important to me is that's also where there's been always a public bathroom. Because sometimes what I'll do when I just know that I need to get the fuck out of my apartment and get my walk on, but I don't necessarily, like, I'll wake up and what happens with me is I'll get so indecisive that I'll shut down and just get overwhelmed. I just have a real problem with it with like information overload. It kind of sounds like people who have ADD have a problem with, and a lot of the symptoms are really similar with people with anxiety. Adoy. So what I would finally learn to do for myself is just get the fuck out of my apartment. Don't worry about where I'm going to go. Take a bus downtown, and then from there I can get on another bus. I can walk to the river. I can walk up to Powell's. I can walk to the main branch library. I can do all sorts of walking that involves hills and all that. Or I can get on a streetcar, or I can get on the light rail. It's like all right there at Pioneer Courthouse Square. And I also know how my bladder works, in that I'll pee before I leave my apartment. And then by the time I get downtown, I need to pee again. And then once I do that, I'm done peeing for a while, and I can just rock out with my cock out for several hours. There is no cock out. So Pioneer Courthouse Square was my perfect pee zone. It was under construction for a while, and so I started using the bathroom at the shopping malls there, the shopping mall that's there. Or I would hold it and walk all the way up to Powell's, but then that meant I couldn't just do other stuff. So anyway, so finally Pioneer Courthouse Square is back open, and I was doing my thing of like, I'm getting my walk on, but I don't know where I want to go. So let me go there to pee first. And I see in the bathroom, it used to be 2 bathrooms, multi-stalls for each. I don't know what the men's, I'm sure the men's one was multi-urinals and multi-stalls. The women's was multi-stalls. Now I'm totally down with women's bathrooms being for cisgendered women, and anybody who self-identifies as a woman. I'm fine with that. I don't feel threatened by it. I don't feel uncomfortable by it. I don't think that, oh, one day, a guy is just going to decide, I feel like a lady today. And he's going to walk in there with a beard and a dress on. Because even if he did, I still wouldn't care. Because I know that that's not going to happen, Adoy. I see beardly men in utility-kilts all the time, and they're never in the women's room. So I'm fine with that. And the same thing, with men's rooms, working how men's rooms are. Although, frankly, I don't know if I would feel safe as a trans man, going into a men's room. I would feel more threatened by that as the trans person. Anyway, so that's like totally down with that. That's how lots of bathrooms here, like Powell's, it's so awesome. They've assigned in the women's room akin to saying something like, don't worry about if you think that person is a woman or not. If they're here using the women's room, they're a woman. Something like that. In other words, like, get over your fucking hangups. Like, just deal. So in Pioneer Courthouse Square, P Square, I go to where there used to be a hallway that would lead one into the women's room and and it's like, there's no hallway there. There's just this big clear glass door saying, all gender, I don't know, something. It basically, it looks like a locker room. It looks like a gym locker room. And you walk in and there's a bank of sinks, like 2 or 3 sinks on each side facing each other. And then there's individual stalls, all with aluminum doors. And some of the stalls have aluminum urinals, and some of the stalls have aluminum toilets. But the toilets don't have lids that go up or down. Like, it doesn't have the wider seat portion. It just has that skinny part. If you've ever made the mistake of dating a man who doesn't know how to put the seat down, so you end up sitting on that skinny ledge and your ass falls in the water. That's what those toilets are now. They're the ass fall in the water toilets. And so that's how they've decided to make bathrooms gender inclusive. It's like, we'll just have everybody go in. That way nobody has to worry about what they are. So a manly man will walk in, and a dainty little girl will walk in, and we'll just all pee together. No, I am not down with that. Especially when my ass is going to fall in the water. But I really had to go. Now, there was a security guard there because clearly, I think they realized when they setting this up, trying to be as progressive as they are, shit can still break bad when you have grown men and little girls in a bathroom. Just doesn't. That's not what gender inclusivity in bathrooms really means for most of us, Am I sounding horrible? Let me know. Except you can't let me know because I have cut off all social media under Rosa's name. But Sanchez, you let me know. So they have a security guard there. A security guard who basically looked like a buck-toothed teenage pimply-faced mongoloid. I'm sorry, mongoloids. That's not a nice thing to say. He couldn't arm wrestle a 5-year-old of either gender. So clearly they recognize that either there might be a problem or that it'll make customers, users, the end user, literally the end, it'll make them feel more comfortable to know that there's a pimply-faced security guard here watching everybody come in and out of pee world and poop world. So I go in, really had to pee, saw the toilet with the asphalt in your water rim and was like, no, but I really had to pee. And then I saw there's 2 handicapped bathrooms. I know I'm using the wrong term, but I don't care. There's two handy-capable bathrooms, two challenge, whatever. Two private bathrooms that have normal, not just normal toilet seats, but like extra wide. Like, oh, this is like I could hunker down here and read a little Dostoevsky. This is like so wide and comfortable. Because here's the thing. Even if those other toilets hadn't been tiny rimmed, ass falls in the water sized, I don't necessarily want to be in a stall right next to a man in his stall with the urinal. I don't know. I just don't. It's what I'm used to. I'm old. I also have issues with men. I'm also clearly, as we're learning daily, if not hourly, I'm not the only woman who's had a problem with men. So it really kind of seems also a little tone deaf. It's like, yeah, you're trying to be all inclusive, but like as my friend Spike said, because I messaged him to see if he'd seen them, because for one thing, I don't even know if he'd be able to fit in the doors of the stalls with the urinals because they're super narrow, and he really could not use the skinny rimmed ass seat thing. So I had messaged him about it, and he messaged back about like here there are women in other third world countries, because he reads the news all the fucking time, not in an obsessed way though. There's women in third world countries who are actually trying to get bathrooms segregated to cut down on rape, because apparently that's what happens if you mix cis men and cis women in the same bathroom. You kind of raise the chance of rape. You don't raise the chance of rape by allowing a trans woman and cis women in the same bathroom together. There's a difference. So I used the handicapped bathroom with the nice cushioned seats, and I mean, they weren't cushioned, but just like the super wide seats, and then came out and went to wash my hands at the sink. And then I was like, where's the hand dryer? The hand dryer, like there's the spigots that you turn on that you would normally think are what you turn the water on with. And that's what I was starting to use first to turn on the water. But then I realized, oh no, I saw the sign like wave my hand. So I raised my hand in the spigot. You do the water, blah, blah. And then like, where's the dryer? Oh, that's what the spigots are. The heat blast is right there at the sink. So that way homeless people, because usually when there's like a dryer against the wall, you'll have homeless people who will like not shower, but they'll like do like a little quick bath in the sink, and then they'll like maybe blow dry their hair under the dryer or dry their body parts. Well, you can't do that with these kind of sink things. You can't like climb up on the sink counter and dry your cooch off. You can't really do that with the wall one either. It's a bad example. But that's obviously one of the reasons why they have those there. It's to discourage homeless people from using the bathroom as their private full hygiene station. Yeah, I've never had such a visceral reaction to a space, like, because it really did just feel like I was walking into a locker room, and I have no positive connotations with locker rooms. I'll tell you that much, and we'll stop right there with it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back peeing at the mall. I'm sure that that is a concern of yours. But the great thing about that bathroom and how horrific it is maybe it'll really discourage tourists from wanting to move to Portland, because if they see that that's what Portland's doing when they're bringing their little granddaughter in there, and there's some old creepy dude also in there, I don't know. It's just fucking weird. I did not like it at all. Not at all. Okay, so just a couple more things here. Oh my God, this is going to go to 2 hours. I'm super sorry. So the other thing that I've done is I've gone to see a couple of movies. I went to go see Lucky, which is with Harry Dean Stanton and David Lynch. Um, and it's the last movie that Harry Dean Stanton did before he died. He was like almost 90 or was 90, I think, when he made it. And the movie it takes place like in a small isolated desert town, and he's an atheist facing death, and he's kind of trying to figure out how to face that because people who have some kind of religious faith that can bring them peace and hope and some kind of idea of everlasting life. But if you're an atheist, you ain't got that. And so um basically it's the story. The theme is basically you smile in the face of death. David Lynch, I think, is talking to Harry Dean Stanton about like being in Vietnam or something, and seeing these like young children who are like running away from all the death and destruction and all of that. And he didn't understand like how could any of them still be smiling. And then it was explained to him like, well, they know they've got nothing. There's nothing to lose, so you might as well just smile rather than just feel worse about it. And I'm not doing it justice by just shoving it down that envelope of explanation, but it was kind of like exactly what I needed to see. And then I saw another movie called The Square, which, in fact, I took Spike to go see that, because I've got free movie passes at Cinema 21 because of my lovely friends there. And, and so, and Spike can also enjoy an indie art house movie, just like with the best of them. Although we did not expect it to be as long as it was. So the deal was, since I was basically paying his movie ticket, he would buy me treats. So he would get like my soda and my candy or popcorn or whatever, which was like super nice. So we did that, and and then walked and talked about the movie afterwards, because he wanted to go check out some thrift store so he could, as he very honestly said, buy some books that I'll probably never read, maybe get a couple of DVDs that I'll actually watch. I like an honest person. And I was super proud because I didn't buy anything there because, again, I'm in purge mode. I don't need shit. I just went to fucking Paris, for fuck's sake. So it was very nice because he like he made sure that that was something that I also wanted to do, rather than just like doing it and like dumping me at the bus stop or whatever. He's a very thoughtful friend. Um, when you come from a super fucked up background and you've had a lot of super fucked up damaging experiences, you can go one of two ways. You can either repeat that behavior and inflict it on others, or you can learn from it and be super sensitive. Um, I like to think that's how I am. I could be wrong, as I talk about purging people, but it's definitely made him of the sensitive, compassionate variety. Anyway, the square is kind of like about how art can do a lot of good for people, but when you throw in money and pretension, it just fails humanity. So it was kind of poking fun at that fact of the art world, which is the art world, unfortunately. The art world has very little to do with art and everything to do with commerce. Oh, I'll quit off my soapbox. And then another theme running through it, was who gets help and why, or who do you choose to help and who do you choose to ignore. Um, it was those are both like super good, profound movies. They were thinkers. I like a good thinking movie. Um, and then also, as I'm sitting here with my last couple of cards here, we're almost done, folks. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. I've been talking so slow about nothing. Just catch up. Hurry, Heinz! Heinz, hurry! Um, and a couple of weeks ago, Spike and I went for it was like the first time we hung out after all of my traveling was done. And I was so happy because he came up with the walking route for us to do. Usually I have to come up with everything. Um, like it used to be, I would have to come up with the idea and the time and then he would be late, and then it would like suck. And so all of that is changed. He's on time, if not early now. It's like, again, he listens to people. He cares. Ah, what a good friend. Um, so so he had this like route picked out that we walked from. This will make no sense to you, but I still have to like speak in actual facts. We walked from Lloyd Center to the Alberta neighborhood, and the Alberta neighborhood used to be nothing, and now it's like hipster bougieville. And so it's like, boy, we are both going to feel super out of place here. Let's go. And it was such a nice walk because it was good and flat, which is what we both needed. Him for his out of shapeness, me for my out of shapeness and asthma. That wasn't doing too good at the time. And all along the walk, it must be the same stretch of road that people use to walk their dogs, because we just kept running into dogs. It was, they were on their leash. They weren't like running and jumping and rabid. It was delightful. It was like dog, pet, 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 dog, pet, pet, pet. And so by the time we got to Alberta, we were both really starving. And that's one of the reasons why I'll cut out things like Netflix and whatever, so that way I can use that money to actually go out for a meal with a friend. So we were going to go, it's funny, we were going to go to this one place that the woman in San Francisco kept asking if I'd been to. And I kept telling her no. And it's like it seemed like she thought if she just repeated the name of the restaurant enough times that I would say, yes, I'd been there. It was weird. But it was a madhouse. And then right next door was a very quiet, not as well-known, popular restaurant that was super fucking good. And the service was wonderful. And I think they appreciated the fact that we were actually nice customers. We acknowledged them as humans and asked how their day was and complimented them on the food and the service. Because there's a lot of fucking assholes out there in Portland now. So I've learned that just by being nice, I'm treated like a fucking queen. It's, people should learn manners. It really makes life easier sometimes. So we did all that. And then it was still like early afternoon. It was like a Sunday. It was the Sunday open mic day, and which happens in the afternoon. And he's like, "You want to feel like going to open mic?" And I was like, "Sure." Now that doesn't sound like anything, except to me, that's huge. And again, it's why going to Paris was really good for me. Because it reminded me that I can be flexible, not in an acrobatic way, but that I can go deal with change of plans. I can add on things instead of just like going out and then scurrying back home again. Like it's just opened me up more, made me more accessible, but not in a gross way. So I was like, yeah, sure, we can, we can go to open mic. And it was before daylight savings time had happened. So I felt okay about, like, I wasn't going to be out after dark, because Spike knows that I have issues with that. And we've even talked about, like in the future, doing things like, yeah, I can do stuff after dark, but would you be willing to, like, see me to my apartment, which means an extra bus ride for him? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, you're the best. So we went to open mic. Comedy, which, was what it was. There was this one old man there. Oh my God. Oh, and he brought his wife there. I mean, they might have been my age. They just looked older because their hair was white. I feel like they were retired, and maybe he and his wife had a dinner party one time where maybe he'd said a couple of funny things to his fellow NPR neoliberal friends. A neoliberal, by the way, in case you're not familiar with that term, and I don't know why I feel the need to explain it to you, but I'm going to anyway because you know me. A neoliberal is somebody who is socially progressive. In other words, gay marriage, cool. Trans everything, cool. Racism, bad. Sexism, bad. Like, they're all cool on all the social, civil rightsy kind of things. But fiscally speaking, they are much more like Republicans in terms of hypercapitalism, and the only way to solve anything is by getting everybody working in good paying, high stressful jobs. I'm dumbing it down a little bit, but they suck. The Clintons. The Clintons are a perfect case of neoliberals, both of them. Whereas Bernie Sanders is a straight up liberal. There we go. Now you know. So Mr. Neo got up there with his. He had an Amazon box. I remember that, which is never good. That's what I remember of your set, that you had an Amazon box. But he was also bringing out this hacky stuff, like why do we call it the security forces when really it's all guns and bombs? And why do we call it the information when it's really misinformation? Just all this like super poorly rephrased, watered down derivative of George Carlin. It's all like I've heard the exact jokes before, but done better. And the only person that I think laughed maybe was his wife uncomfortably. I should also point out that, like most of the comics there are, I don't think any of them are over 35. Most are like, mid-20s to, like I said, maybe topping out at 33. And this old couple, he of the Amazon box, would try to interact with the comedian on stage. Like, no, this is not an open forum. I really hated them. But there was one comic that stood out. Actually, there's this one guy, Spike and I were talking about him, the angry guy. He wasn't as angry this time, but there's this guy that I've seen, like the few times that I've gone, this guy always gets up there. He always doesn't seem prepared. He seems like he might know one thing that he wants to try to stretch out for 5 minutes, and it starts falling apart after a minute and a half, and then the rest of the 3 minutes are him spent angrily trying to catch up ground and being mad at the audience for not thinking that his rage is funny. Like, he's been toxically uncomfortable in the past. This time he wasn't as rage-filled, but it was still like, yeah, he still sucks. He's still, like, that's his only improvement. And there was another guy who insisted on going last because of all the props that he had. Because it was right around Halloween, so it had to do with that. There was like candy and wigs, different voices, and it was so painfully awkward. And he'd brought his own really nice video equipment that he had set up on a tripod so he could record his act. So terrible. But the shining light, or just the most surprising, was a trans female who was joking about being sexually attracted to cartoon characters, back when she was like a preteen and in high school. And she said, like, because, she opened up like, come on, like nobody else has ever gotten excited about anime. And then she talked about how, when she was 13 years old, she would get total chubs to Sailor Moon. And that just is interesting on so many levels. Because she's referring to her, it's obvious, she's referring to her male past getting an erection over a cartoon character, and she's telling it as a trans woman. It was just it was just one of those moments where like, wow, everything is kind of colliding at once, and it's really interesting, and I'm laughing, and it was just, yeah, Spike and I just looked at each other like, yep, she won for the night because she got the most unexpected laugh. So there you go. I'm going to end on that little bright note. Sorry that this is all over the place. I will try to do better. Now that I'm not coughing and smoking pot, I should hopefully get back on track again. But yeah, it's weird. I feel good, even though everything is turning to shit. It's I guess I'm just smiling in the face of death, like I learned from Lucky. I don't know. It's good enough for me, at least right now. Bye.